In this video, we are going to talk about rounding numbers to a given number of significant figures. When we're talking about significant figures, first of all, figure stands for the digits in a number, right? Figure is a digit in a number, and for a digit to be significant, it must be a non-zero digit. Alright, so we're talking about non-zero digits to round to. Now let's see an example. Now the difference between rounding to a significant figure or to a decimal is that, if you're rounding to decimal place, you only play with the decimal part. Whereas if you're rounding to a given number of significant figures, you can round whole numbers too. So this is more general. Now let's say we'd like to round this number to two significant figures, right? Now this way I'm going to start counting the figures or the digits of the number from left, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a 4-digit number regardless of it has a decimal place and an integer place. It's not important, right? We have 4 digits in this number and I want this to be rounded to 2 decimal places, so I'm going to cut the number from here and I'm going to scrap this bit. Now the same rule applies when it comes to scrapping the remaining part, okay? If it is greater than or equal to 5, you have to add 1. If it is less than 5, you just don't do anything, right? Now here, the number to the right of where I cut the number is 4, which is less than 5. So I'm going to round this number to two significant figures as 26, which I scrap this bit, right? Whereas if I was to round the number to one significant figure, then I would cut the number from here because this is the first digit and I have to scrap the rest of the number. Now, I'm not going to end up with 3, okay? Well, 3 comes from the fact that just because this is 6 here, which is bigger than 5, I have to add 1 here. Good, fine. So 2 plus 1 will be 3. But my number is 26 something, so it cannot be rounded to 3, okay? What I'm going to do is, if I'm scrapping this bit, I have to fill in the units digit, so I have to make this a 30, right? When it comes to decimal places, I don't need to write that down. Remember, I rounded the number to 26 just in the first example, right? Actually, that number is like that. I can write that number like that, but just because I don't need to write any decimal places when it comes to 0, I just write 26. But it is very important to fill in the gaps when it comes to the integer part, so I can't write 3 only, this must be 30. Well, consider this example. Suppose that you have 3640 TL, right? And you want to have a rough idea about how much you have, or you want to mention this roughly. So suppose that you would round this to one significant figure, right? So would you rather consider your money as 4 TL, because this is 6, so you have to add 1 here, so it's 3 plus 1, 4, and you scrap this bit, fine, but is it 4 TL or 4,000 TL, right? That's the idea. So when it is about the digits in the integer part, not the decimal part, right? When it is integer part, well, you have 1, 2, 3 digits to fill with zeros because you're scrapping this bit. So your 3640 TL could be rounded to one significant figure as 4000 TL, but definitely not 4 TL. So that's the difference. Let's look at this example now. Round these numbers to the indicated number of significant figures. So the first one is 156,230, and it's asking for two significant figures. So, sorry, 30. Now, the first and the second digits are here, so I have to cut from here. So the number next to it is 6, which is bigger than 5, so I have to add 1. So that's going to be 16. That's fine. Now I have the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth digits to be scrapped. However, I'm going to fill in those with zeros, so that it's going to be approximately equal to 160,000. In the second one, the question says round to two significant figures. Now, we do not consider zeros as significant figures, so I have to go like 1, 2, 3 as the significant figures. So it says two significant figures, so I have to cut it from here. Well, just because the number next to it, which is 6 here, is bigger than 5, then I have to add 1 and end up with 0.090. So this is a very tricky example. I have to write those two significant figures, so it's going to be 0.090, right? I don't consider this bit as significant. However, now that I ended up with 90 at the end, still this is the first significant figure, that's the second one. Just because it asks me to round it to two significant figures, I have to consider this 0 here as a significant figure to indicate that there is nothing there, right? So it must be a 0. On the third one, it asks me to round the number to three significant figures. Now we said that 0 is not significant. However, if it is in between significant figures like 1 and 9, or non-zero figures, then I have to consider them as significant figures because they are placeholders. So they show me that there is nothing to write there in the units and in the tenths digit, right? So I will go like, this is my first, second, third, and fourth figure, all right? It says three significant figures, so I have to cut from here. This is a number greater than 5, so I have to add 1 here and end up with 10.1 as a rounded approximate number up to three significant figures. So 0 is a non-significant figure unless it is in between significant figures, right? So that's the answer. Now is the exercise time. Solve these questions on your book and submit your answers online.